everyone! So today I'm here to review the J.Cat Beauty Wonder Lip Paints. They individually retail for $4.99 US. They contain 0.33 ounces of product and they're available in 36 shades. They are said to have invincible color and impeccable wear with the twofold blend of endurance and delivery of intense pigment. The packaging is a simple transparent tube that features a nozzle to disperse the product, meaning that you are going to have to use something like a lip brush to apply these, especially if you want a precise application. They are all supposed to have a mint scent to them. However, I did find that a few of the shades did come off more chemical smelling rather than having a refreshing mint scent to them. It's not really a huge deal since it doesn't tend to linger for very long. The Wonder Lip Paints are extremely pigmented and they apply incredibly smooth. Most of you have probably seen a similar concept, especially with the Obsessive Compulsive lip tars, in the sense that only a very small amount of product is needed, and they are exceptionally great for mixing and matching colors to create any custom shade that your heart desires. Before applying the product, you'll definitely want to make sure that you knead the tube and mix up the product so it doesn't come out separated or runny. And like I said, literally the smallest amount, probably half a pea size, is needed to cover your entire mouth. That's more than enough product. It's very easy to go overboard and apply too much with these, and if you do, you risk having the product bleed and feather. But to take an extra step to prevent those from happening anyway, I would highly recommend pairing a transparent lip pencil underneath these. Also, a quick tip on getting the most out of the bright, bold, vibrant shades. By blocking out your natural lip color, whether it be with concealer or a foundation, etc., it'll definitely help the brighter colors stay bold and true to what they should be without having your natural lip color show through and alter them in any way. The Dodo is a medium to dark fuchsia pink with cool undertones and a glossy finish. This shade applied smoothly, evenly, and mostly opaque. It only had semi-sheer pigmentation, which did cause it to look uneven at times, but it was only really mostly at a close inspection. The Dodo wore well for 4 hours and lightly bled over time. By the By is a medium to dark fuchsia pink with cool undertones and a luminous finish. It had good, mostly opaque pigmentation and applied smoothly and evenly across the lips. This shade had a thinner consistency which felt more like a gloss on the lips without being tacky, and it did end up bleeding over time. By the By lasted 4 hours and left behind a stain. Tinkling is a light to medium pink with hints of yellow, warm undertones, and a luminous finish. This shade had rich, opaque pigmentation that applied smoothly and evenly, and it also had a thicker consistency that didn't feather or bleed over time. Tinkling wore well for 4 hours before fading. How Puzzling is a medium to dark rose pink with warm undertones and a luminous finish. This shade applied smoothly, evenly, mostly opaque, and had good pigmentation. Although it did have a thicker consistency, it did ever so slightly bleed over time. How Puzzling wore well for 4 hours. The March Here is a medium to dark muted burnt orange with warm undertones and a luminous finish. This shade applied smoothly, evenly, and had good pigmentation. While it was mostly opaque, I did find that my natural lip color did show through in some areas, but it didn't cause it to look uneven. The March Here wore well for 4 hours. Amuse is a medium brightened orange with warm undertones and a luminous finish. It had rich opaque pigmentation that didn't bleed or feather during wear, and this shade applied smoothly, evenly, and left a nice glossy shine to the lips. Amuse wore well for 5.5 hours. Hello Goodbye is a medium brightened yellow with cool undertones and a luminous finish. This shade applied smoothly, mostly even, and semi-opaque. I found that the color did lightly separate from the fine lines of my lips in some areas, but the vibrant nature of this particular shade made it not so noticeable. Hello Goodbye wore well for 3 hours. Tea Time is a light to medium muted chartreuse with cool undertones and a luminous finish. While this shade did have rich pigmentation, I did find that the color lightly settled into the fine lines of my lips, and it could end up looking streaky at times. Otherwise, this shade applied smoothly and mostly even. Tea Time lasted 3 hours. Dream Me Up is a blackened forest green with cool undertones, green microsparkle, and a metallic finish. This shade applied sheer, uneven, and only semi-opaque. When worn alone, I found that the color settled into the fine lines of my lips, but the metallic sparkle was still highly noticeable. This specific shade would work best to be paired over top of a darker lip product like a black lipstick for best results, and it's actually what I've gone ahead and done today. It's almost galaxy-like. Dream Me Up wore well for 3.5 hours before fading. Merry Unbirthday is a medium brightened sky blue with cool undertones and a luminous finish. It applied smoothly, semi-uneven, and mostly opaque. It did have intense pigmentation, but I did notice that my natural lip color did show through in some areas, which just seemed to alter the color rather than actually cause it to look uneven. Merry Unbirthday lasted 4 hours before fading. Splashed is a medium to dark muted steel blue with hints of gray, cool undertones, and a luminous finish. This shade applied smoothly, mostly even, and semi-opaque. It had rich pigmentation that didn't bleed, but again I found that my natural lip color did show through in some areas. Splashed wore well for 3.5 hours. Spoke Fancy is a darkened purple berry with warm undertones, fuchsia violet microsparkle, and a metallic finish. It applied smoothly, mostly even, but quite sheer. The metallic finish was noticeable and absolutely beautiful on the lips, even though I found that the color did lightly settle into lines. This was another shade that had a thinner consistency, but it didn't feather or bleed over time. Spoke Fancy lasted 3.5 hours before fading. Talking Flowers is a medium brightened purple magenta with cool undertones and a luminous finish. This shade applied smoothly, evenly, and mostly opaque. It had intense pigmentation that didn't feather or bleed over time, and it was actually one of the better performing shades of the bunch. Talking Flowers lasted 4 hours before fading. Unanimous is a medium to dark chocolate brown with hints of red, warm undertones, and a luminous finish. This shade had rich pigmentation, but I found that the color applied uneven, which did make it look patchy at times. It had a thinner consistency that did bleed during wear, and once the product had worn off, it did leave behind a stain. Unanimous wore well for 3.5 hours. Red Queen is a medium brightened cherry red with neutral undertones and a glossy finish. It had intense pigmentation that applied smoothly and evenly across lips. Although this was another shade to have a thinner consistency, I found it barely bled over time, and it didn't appear streaky at all. Red Queen lasted 4 hours and left behind a stain. Golden Afternoon is a medium to dark berry red with warm undertones and a glossy finish. This shade applied smoothly, evenly, and mostly opaque. It had rich pigmentation, but I found that my natural lip color did show through in some areas, which caused the color to look lighter in certain areas. Golden Afternoon lasted 4 hours and lightly bled over time. Little Bumblebee is a true black with neutral undertones and a glossy finish. This shade applied sheer, uneven, and semi-opaque. It had a thinner consistency to it, and the color did settle into fine lines. By itself, this shade did end up looking horribly patchy on the lips, but it would make an excellent product to pair over darker lipsticks, or to mix with other shades of lip paints to create your own custom color. Little Bumblebee lasted 2 hours before fading. Curious Oysters is a true white with neutral undertones and a glossy finish. Again, this shade was sheer, uneven, semi-opaque, and liked to settle into the fine lines of my lips. It also had a thinner consistency and would work absolutely great to mix and match with other lip paints to lighten or create your own custom shade. Curious Oysters on its own lasted 1.5 hours before fading. So overall, these are a really great, affordable alternative to the OCC lip tars. While they typically only last 3 to 4 hours average on their own, they are a relatively fun, cheap way to experiment with lip colors, or to add a little extra pop of color on top of a lip product. They're really great for mixing with each other to create your own shade. They're just a fun product to have to play with. So whether you're already a fan of lip tars or they're something you've been interested in trying, the J.Cat Wonder Lip Paints are definitely worth checking out. So be sure to let me know in the comments below if you have tried products like this, if it's something you'd be interested in, or what your thoughts are on them in general. As always, don't forget to check out my blog for more details, photos, and swatches, as well as like, comment, and subscribe to show your support. If you'd like to give me a follow, I will have all of my social media listed here, as well as down in the description. As I always say, I hope you found this review helpful, and I hope that you have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for watching.